All right, so it's mid-February, which means we're officially 1 month away from the 2018 Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation World Elk Calling Championships, which will be held in conjunction with the International Sportsman's Expositions in Sandy, Utah, which is just south of Salt Lake. And I get a lot of emails and messages throughout the year, and especially this time of year, about what I do to prepare for calling contests and how my practice for a calling contest differs or varies from how I practice for elk season. So I figured I'd just put together a series of short videos to just show you what I go through. And today marks the official start of practice for the World Elk Calling Championships. And that means I've got to select a couple diaphragms that are going to perform. And when it comes to competition calling, it's a lot different than hunting. In hunting, elk aren't nearly as critical. You can make mistakes. Your calling doesn't have to be perfect and spot on. But when you're on a stage and you have human ears that are judging you, they're looking for every imperfection in that call. And what they want to hear is the most authentic elk sounds that you can make. And little tiny things that wouldn't even matter at all in hunting can make a big difference in the final score that you receive from the judges in a calling contest. So that's why it's so critical for me to go through several diaphragms. I've got probably 100 or 120 diaphragm elk calls here that I'm going to go through one by one and pick out the top 4 or 5 that absolutely perform in every area that I'm looking for in regards to the calling contest. And some of those features that I'm looking for are the ability to go up the octaves in a bugle and clearly and distinctly hit each note, but at the same time be able to roll from one note to the other without a real big pop or inconsistencies in those notes as I go up. Another thing I look for is the ability to be able to put just a light amount of pressure and air on that call, to be able to get that low resonating sound so that I can get a good growl at the beginning and a good growl at the end. And probably the most important part of the call for me is being able to hit that high, clear note and be able to hold it consistent without any wavering at all in that high note. And I want a diaphragm that's going to be able to perform and provide that high, clear note for a good 15 or 20 seconds without any breaking or any wavering at all. Obviously, I'm not going to do that in the contest or in a bugle, but I want to know that that diaphragm is just spot on. It's going to hold that call and hold that note. And then the last thing in a bugle that I'm looking for is the chuckles, making sure that I've got consistency in the chuckles, that it rolls from one chuckle to the next without a lot of popping or without actually stalling out and losing the note. So those are the key things I look for in a diaphragm when I'm going to a contest and looking for the bugle sounds, the bull elk sounds. When it comes to cow sounds, as I'm going through all these diaphragms, what I'm looking for are the ones that won't hit the high note because latex is a little soft or stretched a little bit loose, which means it's going to make a really good cow sound. Now, when it comes to hunting, I want a diaphragm that's going to perform both in cow calls and in bugles and be versatile and make every sound that I need to make. But in reality, on a stage with human ears, I want something that's just absolutely dialed in to the absolute best it can be for cow sounds, which means it's probably not going to perform to the best that I need for bugles. So I'm going to find 4 or 5 diaphragms that are just spot on for bugles, and I'm going to find 4 or 5 diaphragms from the ones that I go through that don't make the selection for the bugles for cow calls. And a lot of times I can just take a diaphragm, and if it's just not quite giving me the range of cow sounds that I need, or it's just a little bit too high pitched, I can just take the latex and just stretch it out, just manually stretch it out and kind of seat it in, and that'll allow that latex to flex a little bit more, get a little bit more elongation in it, which is going to give me more range and a little bit of those softer, sweet cow sounds that I need to be able to make. So I'm just going to jump in here. As you can see, I've got this huge pile of diaphragms, and I'm going to start going through them one by one. I've got the contender, I've got some with the new latex, some with the old latex, the black latex. I've got some mistress diaphragms, and I've got some all-star diaphragms. And all 3 of those have performed really well for me, and I'm pretty certain and pretty confident by the end of this little exercise, I'm going to be able to pick out 4 or 5 diaphragms for bugles, and then go through and find 4 or 5 for cow calls that are really going to just be spot on and ready for the calling contest here in a month. So I'll get started and just grab this first one. All I'm going to do is go through and I'm going to make 2 bugles with each one just to see if they'll hit the full range of everything I need. I'm going to go with just a simple bugle all the way up, hold the high note, come off, hit some chuckles, and then I'm going to do a lip ball. I'm going to do those 2 calls for bugles and check all of these diaphragms setting out the ones that I think are really, really good and have potential. Then I'm going to go through that stack and narrow that down to probably 5 or 6 diaphragms to be able to start practicing with over the next month and get ready for the World Elk Calling Championships. That one's definitely got potential. Hit all the notes, really smooth through everything, no bobbles on the high note, so that's going in the keeper pile. You notice that one in the high note, it got almost to it and then it finally popped into the high note, but it waved a little bit in it. Great call for hunting season. Wouldn't even hesitate to use that for a full week elk hunting. When it comes to the contest, just doesn't quite have it. So this is going into the pile for next hunting season. That one was spot on in the bugle, hit that high note, held it really well. But then when I got into the chuckles, you could hear it kind of stalling out a little bit. It wasn't going through that full range of latex sound that I need in those chuckles. I'll do that again, just the chuckles, so you can hear that. Obviously that's exaggerated, but it's just not rolling into the latex. The latex just isn't reverberating really good with my tongue there, and not one for the contest. Again, great one for hunting season, but not good for the contest. That one's got it. Again, everything really smooth, sounds really good. Again, this isn't practice for the calling contest. This is just strictly selection of diaphragms to find 4 or 5 that are going to really perform and hold every feature that I need them to hold throughout the contest. So this is a keeper. I'm going to jump over and try a couple of the different calls. So the Mistress. Mistress is a lighter latex, so it's going to be really good for cow calls, but every once in a while I find one that just absolutely screams those bugles. And while it doesn't hit the octaves really cleanly on the way up because of the lighter latex, it'll still run up really smoothly. And if I can find one in there that can hit that high note and scream with it, it's going to be a really easy call to control and one that will probably make the cut for me. Again, beautiful calls with it. It is cutting out just a little bit that light latex. I'm putting just a little bit too much pressure on it and not quite holding that high note, especially in the lip ball. I'm going to put it in the keeper pile, but know that it's probably not going to make the final cut, but it's got some really good sounds. Do a couple of the all-star diaphragms. This has a little heavier latex than the Mistress and is a really good versatile call. So I know I'm going to be able to get some good bugles out of it, and we'll see how it performs here. You notice that one came out of the lip ball a lot better. hit that high note, kept it clear, didn't cut out, and didn't lose any of the volume or the good sound that it had. So this one's going to go in the keeper pile for now. And once we get up to 12 or 15 calls in the keeper pile, I'm probably going to go through them again and pull out the top 5 or 6. I might go through this pile a little deeper than 12 or 15 later on and see if there's just one in there that's hiding, that's just one of those superb calls that's ready to go. So I'm going to go through, rather than keep you on here for 100 bugles listening to all this. I'm going to go through these. I'm going to get it whittled down to the top 12 or 15, and then we'll check back in, and I'll go through and show you how I rank them and how I actually sort them in order for the top call that I'm going to use in the World Championship Elk Calling Contest. Okay, so I've got it narrowed down to the top 9 diaphragms out of that original pile of possibilities, and the other calls here just didn't quite make it. Good calls, but just weren't quite what I was looking for. So I'm going to move those off. I'm going to take this top 9 pile, and I'm going to whittle down and find the absolute best one. Once I find that best one, I'm not going to practice with it very much. I'm going to save it and make sure it's good for the contest. I'm going to practice with number 2, number 3, number 4, and get to where I'm really confident in each of those, pulling out number 1 and maybe blowing it once or twice each time I practice, just to make sure that my tongue is really dialed in for what that call needs to be able to operate it most efficiently. So I'm going to go through these ones, and you can listen in, and you'll see a little bit of differences between each one and maybe why they don't rank quite as high. A great diaphragm right there, really easy to use, runs up the scale really well. This is an old call that I probably used last year. It's got the old black latex. It's wrinkled and worn in really good, but it absolutely screams and hits that. So this is definitely going to make my top 5. You notice that one, I struggled to get that high note. Once I got it, I held it, but it just wasn't that strong, crisp high note. So this one's going in the second round of the top 9, and will probably fall somewhere in the middle of that. Not my favorite. Got a couple little things there that aren't quite perfect. I'm going to keep it close to that line. It might make top 5, it might not, but it's going to go right in the middle of that stack for now. Really love how easy that one is to use with that light latex. It's hard to get that clear high note. I can hit the high note, but it's just not that piercing high note that I really want. But it's very easy to use. I'm going to put this one on the top 5 side of the middle. Definitely a better call than the last one that I used. Hits those high notes a little bit cleaner, and this one's going to go probably top 3. Again, it bobbled when I came out of the lit ball, but a lot of that's just me. I'm going to put that probably in my top 5, maybe again towards the middle of the top 5. That one's money. That one's right on. Goes up the scale really good and cleanly. I'll speed it up, definitely get those transitions smoother. But it hits that high note, holds it really well. The lip ball, it just comes right out of that lip ball really smooth. Definitely top 3. Now I'm going to go through them and I'm just going to start practicing with each of those. So every day I'm going to come in, I'm going to pick up the top. Ended up with 8 calls here. I'm going to mark them 1 through 8. And then I'm going to keep going through them and making sure that they keep in their ranking. If one of them just day after day starts sounding a lot better, it's going to move up in the ranking. And within the last week or 2 before the contest, I'm going to be dialed into the top 4 diaphragms that I'm taking onto the stage with me, and I'll know which ones I'm totally confident in to perform how I need them to perform on the stage. That's what I go through to generate the calls that I need for the World Championship Elk Calling Contest. It's a lot of work. I've spent about 2 hours here. Didn't take you through the whole process, but hopefully gave you a glimpse of what goes into it, just simply for the selection of the diaphragms that I'm going to use. Again, I want to reiterate, all of these diaphragms are going to be great for hunting. None of them failed. They all performed well. I'm just looking for the best of the best that are just spot on, hitting that high note, holding it, that are going to appeal to the ears of a human judge. It's going to be a lot more critical than the ears of an actual elk out in the woods. So that's the selection process. Join me in the next video. I'm going to go through and actually start practicing. I'm going to talk about my routine and the sequence of calls that I use on the stage and how it might differ from the hunting calls I use, and then actually get into the practicing routine that I do for the next 4 weeks to get ready for the elk calling contest coming up in mid-March. So thanks for joining me. Leave your comments below and be sure and check out that next video. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the Elk 101 YouTube channel, go ahead and click the button down here. And if you're not familiar with the University of Elk Hunting online course, it's a comprehensive course that'll make you a better elk hunter aimed at increasing your success. Check it out. Click on the button up here. And to watch our latest video, click this button right down here. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.